So Jules, what's the one thing that kept you going inside?
You.
Oh,
that's beautiful, that is, man.
Papa G.
And Love Island. Welcome back to Life After Prison, The Sit Down.
Yes, the podcast where we're joined by a guest who shares their journey of life after prison. But today, it's all about what it means to be a dad in relation to the criminal justice system. So today we're joined by Graham, who's Jules' dad, and Gasconi, who's a support worker and also my co-host on another podcast, X Conversation. So it might be a bit obvious why Graham's here today, but Gasconi, can you tell us briefly what your connection to fatherhood and the criminal justice system is?
Of course I can, man. Obviously, as you know, Zach, I had a child. How can I put this? I had a child the day before I was sent to prison, right? So I got to court late by like 5 minutes because obviously my partner had just given birth. And I went and got into the courtroom and I went to the judge. He said to me, "Why are you late to my courtroom?" I was like, "I just had a child yesterday. I'm so sorry." Like I was doing a quick feed before I left to help the mother of my child out. And he was like, "Yeah, just well, don't do that again. Remand him." So it was crazy, but I feel like we're gonna get into it more. I don't want to do too much.
Thanks for that.
All I can say is I'm glad you were actually there, like
for the birth.
For the birth,
yeah.
Like that's the only
100%.
good thing that was going like on in my head there. So yeah. Okay. Also, so Dad, do you want to just tell everyone a little bit about you and what you do, just briefly?
Yeah, I'm actually retired. I know I probably look too young to be retired.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I'm an IT guy, been with computers all my life, and spent most of my life looking after 4 kids.
Love that.
4 great kids.
4 great kids.
Amazing. Thank you. Okay, so what does fatherhood mean to you both?
I'll let you take that one.
Wow. Fatherhood hit me without really knowing about it. I think I was so into my business and working, and children just came. I think it's my wife really was saying, we need children. But really children have taken over my life. I mean, my life is surrounded by my children. I love my family.
Love that.
So I've got 4 girls. Jules is the baby.
Baby Jules.
But yeah, that's been my foundation really.
Cool, man.
Okay.
And yourself?
Well, to be fair, parenthood, or like should I say fatherhood, hit me later, even though I was already a parent. So the fact that I had got into prison the day before my day after my son was born, kind of allowed me not to, like I wasn't able to build a bond or like have any sort of connection. All I kind of knew was that, oh yeah, I'm a dad. Like I've got a child, just send me pictures in. Or just like a saying really kind of thing. But I never actually understood what it meant to be a father and what that bond does when you actually have that bond and you kind of, you know, you're there for your children and you watch them grow and you see them take their first steps and everything else. So for like the first like 2 years of my son's life, I was just his dad kind of thing. And it was only after that I kind of came out of prison and then like, you know, made the effort to build that relationship with him was when I can say I could call myself a father.
Okay.
Because I was able to then like change his perspective of who I was and the important part that I played in his life. And not long after that, like I had another one on the way. And yeah. But,
as you do when you're fresh home.
Yeah, as you do, you know, these things happen. You know?
So then what, and this is for you both, how did prison affect that relationship then?
Yeah. Obviously prison was quite a shock. I guess we'll go into a bit more about that afterwards, but to be quite honestly, the relationship didn't change. You know, I was fully supportive of Jules in prison and just wanted to get her through it. So I think our relationship, if anything, bonded more. But we had a great relationship. I don't think there was ever a question about how prison changed. It was all about how we coped with helping her get through it, really.
Yeah. We're going to touch more on how you coped with, like, together collectively. But so there was no change in the dynamic of how things were then?
Well, obviously there was a dynamic change. She wasn't there for a lot of the time. But yeah, I obviously it changed in the way that our life and how we supported her and how we could, have that contact with her. So yes, it was a big focus. And I think with us, again, we'll probably go on to it later, but it was such a change. We weren't expecting it. So we had to
quickly adapt kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it might have been like a little bit different for you, Gasconi. Like, did you feel like you were, being a dad whilst you're inside and, just had your baby being born? Sorry, was it a girl or a boy?
It was a boy.
It was a baby boy. So your baby boy's just been born. Did you feel like you could be a dad or was a dad still?
Like I would like to say, I want to say that I didn't understand. I only knew what how can I say? The example of fatherhood that I kind of really had was, let's say, obviously my dad, but obviously my dad wasn't really around like that anyway. So I never knew. I always knew that I wanted to be with my children's life because I had that. I never really had that in my life. So I always wanted to be there. So it was like disappointing that I couldn't be there for him. But I always knew that because I've got a child now, that was like a driving factor for me to be like, know what? I need to make a difference. And like I need to kind of make a change and like kind of break the cycle.
Was that immediate though?
No, it wasn't immediate. I think it was, what's mad? No, it's mad. This is how it happened kind of thing. Yeah. I think seeing the change with my child every time I saw him, was I thinking, I don't know. I need to get to know this person. Because it's like, I saw him once when he was born, right, his complexion was mad light. Saw him again, it was my colour. I was like, what the hell? It's the same baby.
Massive changes.
But like, obviously the pigment obviously changes. And like, then after I see him again, and after he had like a little personality to him, he was walking, he was running around, and it was like to him, I was just a stranger that he was coming to visit, kind of thing. And like, it was difficult because sometimes I'm in a prison that's far away, and these mums got to trek, make that journey all the way down to come and see us. And it was like, so it wasn't like a thing where I was seeing him every single week. It was like I was seeing him like every other 3-4 months. So every time I saw him, I saw something new and different, which was like kind of that. Which I think as time went on, that's what kind of hit me. I was like, I actually don't know my own child. Like, my child don't know me. And the thing that used to kill me as well, because obviously at the time when he was born, so he stayed with like my partner and her family, so her parents and whatnot. And obviously they call their dad. So just naturally, my son was calling his granddad dad.
Wow.
And I don't know if it was an ego thing, but that kind of hit me. I was like, but I'm your dad. But then it's like, at the same time, it's like, I've put myself in a situation to be in this space. So do I ever deserve to even be angry? Should I even be upset about it? I was grateful for his granddad, because his granddad was obviously doing the things that I should be doing. Do you know what I mean? And I think when that kind of happened was when like that was that point for me. I was like, yeah, enough's enough. I can't be bothered. Like,
and how long was that?
I reckon about a year into my sentence. Yeah. Because the first year is like, you don't really think too tough.
How long was your sentence?
Like 2 years.
Okay.
So
you had to do 2 years?
Yeah, I had the whole 2 years, yeah. So like the first year was like, there's like when you get past a year and like stuff like when you're having dreams about prison and like, you're no longer thinking about the outside world, and it's like, and it's just mad that like, your life becomes prison. Is when it's like, you're like, oh wow, I'm getting institutionalized here. I mean, like, I need to break out of this. This can't be my norm.
That must have been so tough though, not being able to, be there. That must have been so tough.
100%, it is. And obviously, it even makes it tough. Like, if you have an argument with your other half, and then she's never going to answer. She doesn't want to answer the phone. She's like, she's airing. You're like, what's going on? Your man starts going into overdrive because you're like your emotions and your everything is like heightened by like 3.
Yeah.
So you can be on the phone, you can hear a voice like, who's that? What's going on? You get paranoid. It's crazy. But like, yeah, it was a mad time for me.
Graham, I wanted to ask if you if I know you had 3 other children, of course, but like with Jules being inside, did you still feel like you were her father?
100%. Yeah. That it wouldn't come into it.
Okay.
You still feel like it's really nice to hear that, you know, you thought our relationship, if anything, got stronger. But like the fact that you felt like you were still in a dad role, because to me, you were like completely, and I needed you like I did. So to hear that you still felt like you was in the dad role.
Yeah, well, nothing would change that. I mean, you're all, you know, in your 20s and 30s now. I'm still your dad.
Yeah.
I mean, I still want that relationship.
Yeah.
And in fact, when you were in there, I felt even more, really. I felt more responsibility to be fair, I was a lot of responsibility to get you in there. I was very upset with myself for not preventing your sentence.
Yeah, but that's a whole nother story, because that was nothing to do with you. Like you did everything you could. Like
No.
Yeah,
Well, we can discuss that, but
oh my gosh, you did. You did everything you could.
Is that a bit of like wanting to protect her kind of thing? To be like as a father role, to be like, you know, the protector of your children?
well, I was. I mean, I had that role. They're all feisty girls. They all got into trouble. I mean, nothing serious, but you know, they were.
Great dad.
I mean, it was great. They got great personalities, but I had to get them out of trouble quite a lot.
That's very true.
You know, not in a big time.
He saved us a lot. Like
I gave up drinking because I was always having to pick him up driving somewhere.
You was designated driver.
Absolutely. So yeah, that was my role, definitely. So the fact that I lost the plot a bit when Jules had to go in, well, even the lead up, we didn't know what was going on. I mean, I thought by the time she was 18, 19, you know, that role didn't have to happen anymore, that they could look after themselves. But so I wasn't on it as much when she was at that age.
But I didn't tell you.
That's the problem.
Yes.
That was the problem.
But
yes, you didn't tell us.
Yeah.
So we didn't know that. We couldn't intervene.
So it's
Why
nothing to
did
do
you
with
feel
you.
like you couldn't? Why did you feel like you couldn't say it? Like tell your dad?
And to be fair, I used to tell my dad absolutely everything. Yeah, every little bit of trouble that I thought I needed help with, I genuinely didn't think that I genuinely thought this was going to go away. Like
Okay.
it wasn't going to escalate. It wasn't going to get bad. So I didn't want to tell anybody, to stress anybody and get anybody, you know, like involved, because I hate people getting involved in my mess. And then when I knew it was going to go bad, who was the first person I told?
Yeah, but it was kind of too late, because
Of course it was too
didn't
late.
even realise that she was already pleading, going to the judge for pleading, and by the time we got into the court, we barely knew the story. It was, yeah.
So let's talk a bit about that. Let's talk about trial. What was like the trial experience for you then? Like,
it was tough. I mean, to be honest, it was most tough on my wife. Bless her, she took this really hardly. I'm quite adaptable. I mean, you know, I've got out of trouble for quite a few times, and I'm used to it. I can take it day by day. But even going into the trial, we were given this terrible barrister, and that's one reason why I think I slipped up, because I could have paid for a much better barrister than we got.
Solicitor.
Solicitor and barrister,
barrister,
yeah. So, but yeah, it was a tough process, and we didn't realise really until the day of the trial. We did not realise that there could be a custodial sentence. We didn't even realise the possibility that it could be a long sentence. So yeah, it was very tough.
I remember, Graham, that Jules told me there was like about a 5-week period between the end of trial and sentencing. What was that period like for you guys?
Well, that's when we got in our gear to find a very expensive lawyer to try and reduce it, do everything we could to reduce it, because it was up to 12 years. So
That was the range. The range
the
was
range, yeah,
6 to 12, wasn't
6
it?
to 12.
Yes.
So
And we used to he's really good with managing like expectations that say like I needed to know the worst of the worst and I needed to know the best, but we were just saying that it was 6 to 12 years, so he helped me understand that.
Yeah, so that period was just all about trying to
Get it down.
We had a good lawyer, but it was tough. And sentencing itself was shocking. Just hearing that, and I think Jules felt it as a relief because we were looking at the upper range, and I mean 5 years was a lot.
What were you thinking at that time?
It was partly relief, partly shock, because it was the whole thing was just unfair. We felt. My wife, bless her, she screamed. She was in tears. So it was very, very tough. And I think we could see you actually being relieved that it was only 5, as shocking as it was.
But and that's the dynamic of it, because you're thinking this is like this is bad, yeah, and Jules is like, I'm relieved it's not a big number.
Yeah. Can I ask Graham? Can I ask you a question? How long did it take? So after George's sentencing, right? Yeah. How long until there was like some sort of normality kind of set back into the family home?
That's a good question.
That's a very good question. It's difficult to answer because our family's big. As I say, my wife took it much harder, so it took her a long time. For me, it was just get on with it. I think Jules had the same attitude, and we visited as much as we could, so we kept that bond. We were always on, as many visits as we could each month. And we travelled. I mean, she was up in the north at the beginning, so my wife and I travelled up there as much as we could. So
tell us about the visits. What they were like.
Sorry?
Tell us what the visits were like.
They were hard. I think Jules was always trying to not give us any anguish. She was always trying to make it easy for us, so she put up a good front, but it was hard for us to see her there.
Like with a front, from my perspective, it's like when your people come to see you, especially like your parents, you want to make them feel that you are as good as you can be, so they like reduce the stress and the worry, because I'm sure that's I can't speak for you, but the feelings, your emotions you're going through. So Jules putting up that front, it's like we're compelled to just try and make you guys feel better.
Yeah, but we know what's going on underneath, and the phone calls are the same. I mean, sometimes we could tell she just took up the courage to get on the call and make a good front, but
no, not as such, because I was on the phone to you like every single night, every single day I'd call you, every single day. And that, I needed that. Like I needed that. Yeah, I'd say I'm cool when probably deep down I'm a mess, but like I needed that. You generally got me through my whole sentence.
We need to take that in, man.
You did. And I know it was harder for Mum, and that's a really good question. How long did it take? And it actually breaks my heart, because I actually don't think it was ever really the same. I don't think my mum could ever really be the same until I was back, till I was completely back. But Dad is right. He can kind of deal, he needs to move on. Like, you need to deal with what it is. But he was on the phone to me every single night.
But also it helped with what she was doing inside. She was making a new life for herself. And we are very proud of what she did. She got it into this PT business, and she's made something of that.
smashing
So
What I did inside, not going in. Yeah.
So it was obviously an adjustment over that period of time. It was difficult, but as the family pulled together and supported her. Yeah.
Gasconi, what about you? Did you see your child whilst you were inside?
Yeah. So
You mentioned before, didn't you?
yeah, I did. I had there was one particular visit that I really, really enjoyed. It was called like a family day visit, right? And it was like for like 4 or 5 hours.
So I used to see them a lot. I used to get excited for
people
the
going
people going on their family visits.
Yeah, it was amazing, man. Like they come in, you can have some food, and you don't have to sit in the chairs, so you can run around, chase your child around, and
it's like a play date.
Yeah, it's like a play date. It was amazing. It was the most time I'd spent with him since he was born.
Did he enjoy it?
Yeah, he loved it. Like we just ran around, chased him. He was walking at this point. I was like, right, he's walking. I was like more like in shock and in awe. And I've still got a picture, right? Yeah, because they take a picture of you, and I'm in my white, like my stripy white and blue shirt, my H&B one, right? And I'm holding my son, and for some, I don't know why. I don't know if it's like the prison ego, but I've got my face kind of like screwed up in a certain, like doing the whole like the bad boy flex. I don't know why I done it though. And my son was just there, like just smiling. And I've still got the pictures to this day, and I always look back and sometimes like, wow, like I've come such a long way. And now, like I think I had my son out with me the other day, and Zach met him. Like he's almost my height. And I think,
don't say Zach met him like I just
met him. No, just met him for the first time, but Zach see him, and Zach's like, bro, you getting
because I ain't seen him for a while, like at least 6-7 months.
Yeah.
So when he pulled up with him, I was like, bro.
Yeah, you just got mad.
He's gonna be moving to you soon.
Yeah, no. Yeah. No. We'll be on site. No, I'm joking. No, but it's a lovely. It's literally like looking back until now. It's amazing.
How often did you get those visits?
Oh, I only had one of those ones once. I was really lucky enough to have it once. But like in terms of like other little drop-off visits, I had maybe a couple other ones. But I wasn't like for example, Graham said you used to go up quite a bit. I never really wanted anyone to come up. My mum never saw me the whole time on my visit, or like my whole time on prison sentence. Just never wanted to come up. Didn't want to see me in this space. I feel as if it was weird, but I had some communication with my father while I was there. And I think it was the first time he told me he loved me. It was mad. Like he was in a letter. He just was like, "Oh, keep your head up. I love you, Dad." It was like, so I was like, "Whoa, easy, Sophie." But yeah, like it was a bit of a weird one. It was a bit of a weird one hearing that, even though he didn't say it out loud. Like even though it was written, it was just weird. It was just weird. I was like, "Whoa, okay." But like, I just wanted people to stay away. And just let me just go through this journey of my on my own. I put myself in this space.
Why did you feel? Yeah, why did you feel like that though? I
feel as if like, especially with my mum. My mum, I don't think she will be able to handle coming in and leaving and knowing that she has to leave me behind. I think that would be very difficult for her to do. But but bless her, like my mother-in-law, right? Yeah, she used to come up quite a bit. But my relationship with her was very different. She was so cool. She's the loveliest lady ever. Yeah. And she used to always come up. And after even she used to struggle, she used to be like, I can't believe I'm leaving you here.
But didn't you used to say that to me about you on visits? You didn't really want people to come.
Yeah, similar. The reason for me was seeing your people go.
Yeah.
That, like, you get so excited that you're having a visit and then your people are here and it's like, you're not in prison.
Yeah.
And then they got to go and it's like, back to reality that you're back inside and your people. So I used to hate that feeling. So
I can completely relate. Like I don't know, because like I didn't actually want everyone seeing me in there like that, but I half did it for you guys as well. I don't know whether like it was, did you guys like want to do that, or was it more like for me?
I wouldn't have,
so you would have.
Absolutely.
I think for my mum as well, I'm surprised that my mum was able to come in and go out, and she
came every visit. Yeah,
every visit, and she was cool. Like she kept her cool.
What was that feeling like when you had to leave, Jules?
I don't know. We just carried on. It was just good to see her, and we look forward to the next one. The thing
tough.
that was hard for me, so I used to, there's quite a distance. Eventually she got into Maidstone, and I used to drive her back.
Oh yeah, for DCAT when she was in open prison.
Yeah, so it's an hour and a half drive each way. They were tough because some of the time there was no talking. Some of the time it was music, it was a bit of laughter, but it was a tough.
Some of the time it was just
journey.
pure crying, wasn't it, Dad? I would just be, and then I'd be like, I don't know why I'm crying. I'm just crying. He just
No, it's
took it all.
emotional, man. It is emotional.
But there was times where I was on the blue phone and I'd just be like in bits, like, and he'll just be on the other end listening to me cry.
What do you do in that moment, Graham, when like Jules is
He's
like
so
having a bad
good.
day? Like, what do you?
Yeah, I guess I just look forward to her coming out, just think forward. And, there was a lot of good feedback coming. She was doing all this PT stuff. She was making new life. To be honest, before she went in, she was a mess. I mean, in her mind.
What it is.
Tell him.
In her mind, she didn't know what she was doing. She went to university and dropped out after 2 years.
And then I went to prison.
At least you made it to university. I didn't even get there.
Yeah, to be fair.
We graduated from the other university.
Yeah, other university.
Did you graduate though?
Well,
No.
no, because I ended up going back to West again. It was so
None
good.
of us graduated there. No, I love it.
Love it though.
But we made it here today.
made it. We're here.
How about that?
Yeah, I believe in silver linings. I think there was, it's built her character. She's in a better place.
Do you remember my first picture though before you came to the visit? Do you remember that picture?
No,
Okay, all right, good.
I don't remember many things.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, I was just wondering if you remembered that picture. I'm glad you don't remember it. To be
Was
fair,
it awful?
I'd
Yeah.
like to see it afterwards.
I was just
Have you still got it?
What picture is it?
so when I went in, they only had one picture. You know the picture that they take when you
yeah,
first
of
get
course.
into prison.
Yeah.
So obviously that was the only picture that they have, and I didn't realize when visitors come in,
Okay.
they see that picture.
Okay.
And that's the only thing that they see, right?
Okay, yeah.
So when my mum walked in, I remember this so well, and Dad, I think it was Mum, Dad, and one of my sisters. My mum was just like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much," and I was like, "What's wrong?" She was like, I thought you looked like that outside. And I was like, what are you looking at? And I didn't know that they have, when the visitors come in, they're like, is this your daughter? And this is who you're going to see. Is this your person seeing? She was like, have you seen it? And I was like, no, I don't know what you're looking at. And she was like, oh, I'm just so glad you don't look like that. Like, thank you. And I was like, wow.
It's the first picture when you get off the bus.
Yeah, you get off the bus.
No, that's the
One, innit?
stress picture.
Yeah, man.
You don't even know it's coming.
Yeah.
And they're just like,
It's like, yeah, stand there.
yeah.
know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
I'm glad you don't remember
That's
it, to be
good.
fair.
Hairs was looking mad as well. Hairs was looking nuts. Like,
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah,
nuts.
no, it was an awful picture.
But like, I wanted to touch on coping strategies.
okay.
You know, like, because me and Jules have touched on it a bit, but I want to know from you both what your coping strategies were.
What, whilst I was in prison?
Yeah.
My coping strategy was laughter. I've always been that kind of guy that if I'm in a space, I can just make people laugh. Like, people always gravitate to me because I'm a funny guy. And I think just being in that kind of space, I just used to make jokes out of everything. And then there was moments, no, it's mad, yeah, I always laugh at this, yeah. 'Cause I think I was going nuts at some point, right? Because I didn't realize everybody done it. Have you been in your cell, like if you're banged up by yourself, right, and you just talk to yourself in the mirror?
Yeah.
Bruv, I was thinking, am I gonna live here? Like, you be
Not
actually-
even just to yourself in the mirror, to the walls.
yeah, you're
and
talking
or
to
you know,
wow,
the-
what we doing today then? What's going on?
That's the same. What we gonna eat today? Let's make a cup of tea, man.
You know, when you get up for a bit, like, because you're there, sometimes you're there all day, you're like, right, get up, and you talk to yourself for a bit, and you're like, boo, and then you sit back down.
It's mad.
And then it's like, okay, I'm just sitting back down. All right, get back up.
And I need to-
Talk
I
to
need
yourself a
do
bit
this,
more.
yeah.
Talk you through your
Yeah.
day that you're not doing.
Literally,
Yeah.
but I think that was a coping mechanism for me. Like, just doing stuff like that, just talk to myself. It's mad. Like, I remember sometimes I used to wake up and forget I was in jail.
Yes.
Like, wake up like, where am I?
Yeah.
Like, damn, still here. Like,
Yeah, especially if you had a good dream.
yes.
Had a great dream, something
Outside.
amazing, and then you open your eyes like,
Yeah, I'm still here.
But you definitely give me the energy of like fun, belly laughs, and
100%.
like just positivity. So
100%.
that is
so
just
we were banged up.
that's an incredible
together.
way to get through your
We were
sentence.
banged up together. We didn't sleep.
Yeah.
It was just jokes.
It's jokes. It's
Pad
bust-
mates.
Yeah.
Oh, that must have been so much fun.
Yeah, man. It
was nuts.
Mad jokes. Honestly, it's crazy. But I think that's definitely just laughter. Laughter to bringing a positive spin on things and it's not looking at the negative and everything. Trying to say that, you know what, cool, we're here now. but we will be getting out. Not that that's saying that everybody says you only do 2 days in prison.
There
Day
you
you
go.
go in, the day you come out. So just, you know.
That's so philosophical, isn't it? Like, it's crap.
Yeah.
But yeah, go on, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, you touched on it earlier about, like we touched, like you not being able to be there for your son. But like, I don't know, like to me, obviously in my head, that must have been so hard. Was there times that you know, like how did you get through those times when you thought like you can't be there, growing up with your son and seeing those things? How did you get through those times?
I feel like I lived through those experiences through people. In terms of what people were saying to me. So with my mum, but oh yeah, I went to go see him. He's growing up. He's doing this now, or this and that. But oh, that's amazing. And like through the pictures I was getting sent, so I'll see pictures of him growing up, and I'm seeing the changes within him. And I think I could only live through that. But then, like I touched on earlier, like I never knew what it meant to be a father. So to me, it was just like I was just able to coast through it all because it was like I don't know what it is. I haven't got a bond. Like, I know I'm a dad, but that's all I know. And I can say that I love him, which I did. Of course, that's my son. But in terms of the bond, that we never had that bond to kind of solidify it in terms of like having, do you know what I mean?
Do you reckon that made it a bit easier for
Oh my, of course. If not that I would ever return. If I went to prison today, I'll cry every single day. Every day I'll cry because I'll be missing my baby so much. I'll be like, I can't do it.
How many you got now?
I got 3.
Oh.
I got 3 boys and I could not do it. Couldn't do it. Are you mad? I couldn't. But the fact that, and like, I always look back and say, it was a godsend that I went to prison when I did. Because if I had the time to build that bond, it would have been a harder time for me. It would definitely been difficult. But because I never had that time to build that bond, I was able just to coast through my sentence and kind of get by. And then kind of, but then...
You didn't have a chance to miss it yet
yeah,
either. Like,
I never had a chance to miss it. It was like, born, bye-bye, gone. So it was a blessing, but it wasn't a blessing at the same time.
Yeah.
But
mixed.
Yo, I've definitely got mixed feelings about it. But yeah, I think when I came, I had to make it up to him, to be fair. So yeah.
For you, Graham, what was that like then? Because obviously you've been Jules' dad for her whole life, and then she's like away from you. How did you cope with that?
It wasn't really the same. I mean, we were still together, so it's not like there was a... Yeah, so, and she was, you know, old enough. She was not a baby, so I think that bond continued. It didn't really make a difference. We just continued life as best we could, and still had that bond with her. So it wasn't a big break.
What was the major like differences for you in terms of like not having Jules around?
No one to annoy you?
Oh, that's harsh. No, I love the annoying. But as I say, she was teenager, you know, going into her late teens. So she wasn't there all the time. She was out. In fact, when she was out, that was when I worried.
Okay.
So
It's
knowing that she was inside actually was quite calming.
No, my mum said the same thing.
To be fair, I was on the
same
phone
thing.
to him every night because I needed that. Like, I genuinely did that. I'll say it again because it's so true. Like, you got me through. So for me to ring him every day was more than I was doing before.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's probably also the family probably just...
Yeah, I mean, she got through... She wasn't in a good space before she went in, so it was a turning point in that respect. Obviously not at the beginning because you didn't know quite what was happening, but the fact that she did turn it around inside, it kept that bond going.
You did well with the family though as well, so...
Yeah,
Like
the
with mum
family was there, yeah, definitely.
Would you say there was something in something in particular when you was at home, for example, that reminded you of Jules and made you just want to miss her over more? Like, it could be a song, could be something you saw, a picture, I don't know.
It's everything, yeah, because we had such a close family anyway. So yeah, we, you know, definitely music was one thing that kept us together.
Song that you had that remind you of Jules, like something that she maybe played as a kid or sang a lot.
Well, she's a great singer.
She can hit notes.
Hit notes, yeah? Yeah.
No.
So having her voice not in the house, she's a beautiful singer. So yeah, we miss that, definitely. Moving on.
Thank you for that.
Don't get shy, Jules. You're not shy. Don't do that. Singer.
Let's talk a little bit more like after release. So what's your relationship now like with your son, Gasconi?
It's crazy. It's mad. Like, I try to be the best of both worlds, right? So I try to be very open and transparent with my son, all my children all together. In terms of, the kind of journey that I've had, how important it is to kind of, stay away from that side, and that try not to like make them feel as if it's something that I'm trying. I don't ever try to glorify it with them. I want them to have a space where they can talk to me about anything. It doesn't matter how bad it is, how terrible it is. Just talk to me and we can work it through. Where I don't think growing up I had to hide a lot of things. I never had the space where I can come and openly talk to somebody or like a male figure within my life about anything that's going on. So it's the kind of thing I just had to deal with everything by myself. But I try to do the opposite now and have that open space. I don't care what it is. Just talk to me, get through it. If you want something, which I push them and try and drive them to try to give them the opportunities that I never had. And the kind of belief and that kind of just backing that I never had that could have maybe propelled me to something else, or I could have been somewhere else in life right now. But so in terms of like, it's like more of like, I like to say I'm a big brother, friend, and dad all mixed in one, because we have fun, we have laughs. I have to be serious at the time, of course, but everything I do is because I love them and I want the best for them, and they know and understand that.
What was it like building that relationship though with Kai when
I first come out? Oh, that was hard. It was hard because it was hard because I made it hard on myself, because I came in and expected him just to react in a certain way because I was his dad and I was back, kind of thing. But in reality, it takes time. You have to wait. You have to take when he's ready. And I just was like, well, call me, I'm dad, like dad, like, and you would say dad, but like, it wasn't, because I was like, kind of like pushing him to do it, because I was expecting him to kind of be a certain way, but that wasn't the case. But I think when I kind of just stopped and took a step back and we're just there and just done little things with him and didn't expect nothing from him, then that kind of bond he kind of opened himself up to me more, and that bond was kind of built. And to this day now, me and him just have laugh, we joke about so many things. We have so many things that we have in common, like in terms of like stuff we watch. I watch anime. I'm a big kid, so I love my PlayStations and games and stuff like that. So we play games together, and we watch anime together, and we do different little bits and bobs together. And he talks to me about stuff that he likes now, and it's a great relationship. I mean, him and my other middle son as well. So,
do you think he remembers that time where you weren't there?
I don't think he does. He definitely doesn't. I don't think he does. But he's aware of it, just in terms of like growing up pictures. I was never in the pictures to a certain age. I was to a certain age.
Do you talk about it though?
100%. I've definitely had a conversation with him about it, and it's a weird one, because obviously he's in his teens now, right? So he thinks he's a grown up, right? Doesn't he? So he says things. I'm just like, bro. I'm like, listen, I'm still cool, Like I'm still down with the kids, bro. Like, I'm not that old. I'm still a young buck. Like, don't think you're gonna get away with little terminologies that I've been using. No, I'm trying to say. So it is a mad one right now.
So he thinks you're not cool.
He doesn't think I'm cool. I'm not too.
But you're telling him I am.
I'm so cool.
You're not cool.
I'm telling you, I'm so
What have you
cool.
got to say? You're
Listen,
cool.
no, I'm cool. But I think, when did it get like that? When do I have to say that I'm so cool?
Where did it go wrong?
Where did it go wrong? Do you know what I mean? It's actually wild. But
How old are your other sons?
I've got, so my oldest is 13, my middle one's 10, youngest is 4.
Do you talk to them about you?
100, yeah, all of them.
All of them.
Like, they're aware. Like my middle son, they all know. It's just something that I'm very open and transparent about, because I feel as if there's a lot of, I don't want to say, I do want to say it, I'm going to say it. I feel as if there's a lot of things out there, right, that whether that's online or whatever, that kind of glorify the street life, or glorify going to prison, or glorify doing these things. And a lot of these kids, because they've got so much access to these kind of sites and these things, right, they then think that this life is like, it's appealing. It's appealing, or it's fun, or it's like, it's a game. And I see it in certain mannerisms that they have, and like, certain music they start listening to. And I'd say, listen, enjoy it. If you like the music, enjoy it for what it is, for the music, but don't take it in for something else, because all of that stuff is not real. It's like watching a film. There's actors. The people are acting. That's not really their life. That's not what they do. So just remember, it is art. You know what I mean?
Do you
Just
ever
rem-
tell get proper real with them, tell them exactly what it is?
I was gonna say,
100%.
are they good?
They,
Are they
no,
well
they're good.
behaved?
They are. Do you know what they are? To be fair, they're a bit. Like my middle son's just like me. He's so cheeky. Like he's just cheeky. They like making jokes, having laughs. They're really good kids. I can't knock them. I've been lucky.
Yeah.
I've got really good kids. But I always also wanna, because I feel like for my older son especially, he's at that age where he can get drawn into these things. Because it's like it's when like, you know, you have a group of friends at school and it's just friends. You know how it is. Just friends, and after you find yourself doing other activities that you shouldn't be doing, kind of thing. So, but the fact that he's so open, if he gets in, he's someone like, if he gets in trouble in school, before the school calls, he comes back and tells us, this is what happened, this was the situation, this is the I'm probably going to be facing detention. And I think, cool. At least you've told me.
Gasconi, I wanted to ask you how much, how does being like a father affect the choices that you make now?
Oh, that's a brilliant question, Jules. Seriously, it affects every decision I make now. I feel as if I have to be a provider. I'm a provider. I'm a protector. So I have to kind of lead by example, also, right? So anything that my actions or what happened or the consequences of my actions will definitely affect my kids. So I always have to be mindful in terms of what I'm doing in life generally. Because of those kind of situations, you have to always be mindful of everything you do, every action you take, because everything has a reaction, right? And that has a knock-on effect. It's like a ripple, and that ripple effect affects people, not just yourself, but people around you. So everything I do, I always try to be very mindful about who is going to affect, and that kind of how people look, how my kids are perceiving me. I'm trying to say, I've tried my best to kind of be that guy, that working dad that goes out and grinds and comes back and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that to give them give them that, you know, that kind of, you know, that example. Like, listen, you can be anything you want, just go for it. Like I've come from this situation, but I'm in a job that I love. I love what I do. I love supporting the people that I support.
Tell us about what you do.
Oh, so I do a bit of everything, man. Honestly, I am a case manager. I support vulnerable people, right? Vulnerable individuals, whether that's homeless, whether that's prison leavers, whether that's people that's affected by domestic violence, refugees, so on. I support them into employment and housing. And on the weekends, I'm a housing support officer, right? Where I support people who have like got substance misuse issues and basically help them with the recovery and everything else. And on top of that, ex-con, who will support young people who are at risk of offending.
Ex-con?
Ex-conversation. Sorry, I say ex-con just later. You know. But yeah, we do that as well. So yeah, I do that. I'm
talking about housing and recovery. We've actually got 2 episodes on that on our other series getting out, where we talk to like people who give us great advice about housing options and about continuing your recovery. So check that out if that's something that you need to see. That's getting out, recovery and housing. But going back to this now, Graham, I wanted to ask you about how the relationship. What was the relationship like when Jules got out, when she first got out? How was that for you guys?
It was mainly how do we support Jules, because I can remember actually going back after one rottle.
Remember the rottle?
We were going, you and I were walking back to the station, and it was in London. There was a crowd of people, and she said to me, I don't think I can exist in this environment. It's just too, I want to go back to prison, basically. It was just too, do you remember that? It was just too noisy, so there was obviously quite a bit of recovery time when she came home, just to chill out, keep away from people. And so we obviously, we supported that. That was our job, really, trying to help her back in. You got back fairly quickly. But it was tough at the beginning, definitely.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you had to reconnect again, or?
No, because we were connected. I think it was just getting back to normal, just getting her back.
I'm glad you thought it was a quick process.
Relatively. No, I mean it took months.
I thought it was,
But it was. I could see it was dramatic, actually, because you very quickly got back into fairly normal. And I think even now even after years, there's some residue there.
Graham, I'll ask you a question, right? if you, because remember you said that before Jules went into prison, she was a mess. She didn't know what she wanted to do, everything else. If you can change her going to prison, would you change it?
See, this is one of those classic questions. Would you change? No, definitely not. I mean, I can give you another example of that with me at the moment. So I was diagnosed with a brain tumour 2 years ago, which was life-threatening, and still is. And I've asked myself that question, would I want to change things? And I'd had to say no, because my life is better now. I stopped work, was stressing me a lot. Touch wood, I feel healthy now. But I wouldn't change that. No, it's strange. So I don't believe in going back into life. I think
I've never asked you that question.
That's a good question.
Yeah, no, go forward. I believe in more and more now, living in the now, just day to day, and enjoying things.
Thank you for sharing that, Graham.
I was going to say the same thing. Thanks for sharing that, man. Honestly.
And on that one, how do you feel about everything that Jules has done now?
Super proud. Super proud. Yeah. Can't say anything more really without crying.
Oh, Dad, stop.
That's amazing.
That's
man,
a moment there, isn't it?
This is an amazing space. Just to sit in it for a second, please.
Oh, Dad, I love you, man.
One more time, what was that? You just whispered that, man.
I love you.
We love you, Graham.
We love you, Graham, man.
Yeah, we love you, Graham.
We're going to have a group hug now.
He does. Do you know what? He battles with that every single day. They gave him 2 years to live 2 years ago. And he's just...
More than 2 years now, though, no?
Yeah, it's the third year, yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well done. You
man.
remember dates.
Smashing
I
it.
don't. I'm really bad with dates. All I know is that you've done what they said is not doable, pretty much. Am I right?
Yeah, breaking
Well,
bounds.
people do survive. So yeah, I believe in, yeah.
Well, they said what was pretty much not doable, and he still continued. He's exactly the same man, supports everybody down to a T.
Love it.
And it's just
Love that,
incredible.
man.
It's just it's amazing.
More
He'll
power,
forever
man.
do it.
That's it. More power.
More questions. Come on, let's go.
And on that one, what we'd like to do here at Life After Prison is, signpost like organisations that support people in their journey of life after prison. So to put it to you both, were there any organisations that supported, the journey of life after prison?
Yeah, 100%. I feel as if there was one organisation in particular, an organisation called Wow.
That's a great one.
Do you know what's mad, yeah?
That's my problem.
I know exactly what I want to say, right? But at that moment there, right, I had a list to go, but there's only one organisation which is called A Fairer Chance. A lovely, lovely organisation run by a lady called Maggie Walsh, who has been supporting me, has supported me since I come out of prison. She's still supporting me to this day, really. More as a mentor, as like a auntie, man.
Is that a fairer chance? Yeah.
A Fairer Chance, yeah.
Cool. For Graham, for you, was there?
I can't really think. Really, there was nothing outside. Maybe Jules individually got help, but no, we didn't.
More from the family then?
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. There are other organisations that can support you on your journey of life after prison. There is an organisation called Storybook Dads that actually support dads in prison to create stories for bedtime for their children. So they record them and then they send them out there. So check that out. There's also Children Heard and Seen, who support children with a parent in prison. And these organisations will be in the show description.
Yes, and we are absolutely loving hearing from you guys, the messages, the support. So keep them coming, please. I just wanted to read out one message we got on Instagram saying, "Hi guys, just wanted to say I love your podcast. I am an ex-teacher and supported a pupil for a long time in a YOI, so Young Offender Institute. Your podcast keeps inspiring me. Brilliant work and keep it up."
All right, big up, teacher.
Yeah, big up, teacher.
Yeah.
This is what we love to hear because, we love doing it, we love supporting, but hearing it actually helping people is incredible.
Yeah, so get in touch with us by DMing us on Instagram and Twitter at After Prison Pod. Or if you prefer to send an email, you can email us at podcasts@prison.radio. Or if you want, you can write to us at Life After Prison, National Prison Radio, HMP Brixton, London, SW2 5XF. Or record a voice message for us on our website, lifeafterprisonpod.com.
So a massive thank you to you guys for listening, and for Gasconi and
Yes.
my dad for joining us in the studio today.
The two Gs.
No problem, man.
The
No
two
problem.
Gs.
Two Gs in the house.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks.
It's really been
It's been amazing, man. I loved it.
Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.